Wagwan family. Once again, we managed to organize another family soccer get together. So I'm the guy. I'm M, and we have a cast of characters with us today. First off, introduce yourself. We got Nahom on the. Say what's up, Nahom.
What's up, guys? Big up the Chels.
Every time, man, you hurt my feelings every time. Next, we got
Only
Ryan, aka Figo.
biggest club in London.
Yo, what's going on, fellas? I'm ready to debate today, man. I hope you guys brought your best work.
Okay, and then we got another Arsenal fan with us today. We got B. Say what's going on, B.
Hey, what's up, people? Glad to be on the program again. Okay.
Okay, and last but not least, we got my man Alusha Ali Bazi. Say what's up, Bazi.
Good evening, soccer family. Glad to be back. How y'all doing?
Okay, so I'm glad that you guys are all here. You know, we have 3 Arsenal fan, 1 Chelsea fan, but the main story that's been going on this week is Bundesliga. Right, Bundesliga is now scheduled to get restarted May 16th. Um, Now, home. What are your thoughts on this time for the restart? We have Dortmund. They're going to be playing Schalke, and we have RB Leipzig. RB Leipzig. Those guys. There's actually games for us to watch this weekend. So, what are your thoughts on this Bundesliga opening?
Thanks for the question. Everybody's on mute, right? It's still an echo. All right, now I think it's better. I think it's better. All right, it was my phone. I think. Look, man, if they've come this far with the approval from the government, and the league's agreeing to the circumstances, by all means, man, give us some entertainment. Again, I think we mentioned in the last podcast, Kevin KG mentioned it, where he said there's really no right or wrong way of doing this because we've never been in this situation. So I'm an optimistic guy. I hope it works out for them. Their prime minister is a freaking chemist, so I'm pretty sure they had to have some kind of detailed, very organized plan in order for it to get approved. My concern is, if somebody does test positive, how does that impact the players and them saying, yes, I'm going to play consistently? Because it's, we forget sometimes that these guys are humans. Just because you're paid a certain dollar doesn't mean that you don't have certain fears of contracting it and giving it off to somebody, or just contracting it, period. So it'll be really interesting to see how it goes forward. But I'm excited, and I'm like super proud of the Germans for being the in terms of the big leagues, being the what would you call it, the leaders in terms of reacting to this pandemic. Kudos to them.
So Figo, what's her name? Chancellor Angela Merkel. I'm probably saying it wrong, but Angela Merkel. They have been one of the front runners in being proactive in the whole Corona situation. So I think it is right for them to be the pioneers in opening things up. But you are one of the individuals who are in the frame of mind of having the top 4 teams. I mean, the top 4 leagues, which is Italy, Germany, Spain, and England. Like, Big Brother doesn't listen to Big Little Brother. What do you think about the scenario of a coronavirus? Somebody actually getting tested for a coronavirus?
So you're asking what I'm thinking about people getting tested for coronavirus?
Yeah, like what do you think is going to happen if that scenario occurs?
In terms of one of the footballers having to get tested?
Correct.
Well, I think that the footballers are going to get tested. They've all already been tested, right? So, like, we're hearing reports all the time of guys who do have it. So what you're going to hear is this guy has it and he can't play. Players. One of the most epic right now. We're all watching the Last Dance, right, on ESPN, and one of the most epic moments for me as a Jordan fan was his flu game. Okay, Michael Jordan. I don't know if you guys ever seen Michael Jordan's flu game, but go ahead and Google that. Go ahead and YouTube it. Okay, if the guy has a virus, he cannot play. If I have the virus, I go to work every day. All right, I'm a first responder. I go to work every day. If I get the virus, I take 2 weeks off, and that's that. So why can't footballers who are 21, 22, 23, 24 years old go to work the same way I go to work and put in what they got to put on the pitch?
B, is it the right decision for them to restart the league this weekend? Do you think they need to hold off a little bit more and make sure that everybody, like, what are your thoughts on the actual restart?
Well, for every country, it's a case by case situation, right? So in Germany, they have a better country virus than probably most, if not all the other countries in terms of football league. They have a better control than England, better control than Spain, and of course Italy and America. So it's more natural, or it makes more sense that they start first, right? And again, they are not starting the league. Like the decision wasn't made by the league itself. The decision league, and they have a lot of protocols of steps that okay, these things need to happen before the league starts. Before they came to the decision to start the league, they had okay, players could go back to training, but they're still doing distancing. They move a week, then they do another step. So they have measures just in case something happens. So, like, for example, right, the question that you ask, if one test, the player get tested twice, I think twice per week. All the players before the league start, they get tested before, and when they get tested, then they can see who's positive from who's not positive, right? So I mean, players tested, he's not going to be allowed to play. Like, I think in the second division, three of their players get tested positive, and because of that, teams are going to, but that team is not allowed. That team won't play no game for like weeks on getting to quarantine. But the issue I have with that is, injury. They had over 1,700 tests for the players, right? But how is it that we were complaining that we were allowed, because of money, we were allowed to these players, which is, I think Ryan brought that up before, like a few podcasts back. The rich, I now had that debate before, that the rich, for some reason, even though we're talking about life and the way to make sure they got tested.
B, you know, Germany hasn't had a problem of finding testing. They've tested more than anyone between them and North Korea. So they don't have that issue. In England, they have that issue. In the UK is where they have that issue from the league perspective.
No, they have that. They have those things. There can never be enough testing, right? It's just that because Germany don't have that much cases, it seemed easier for them to get tests available. But the thing is, my thought process is that it still connects to England, because in England they're planning on the same thing. They're planning on testing the players at least twice a week. And my thing is, how is it that no, they can afford to find the money to get tested for them? No. Then when you have who before, they were struggling, and maybe there's some. This is probably going to happen here in America also when it comes back around to it.
So, Bazzi, quick question for you. How do you think the clubs can afford to buy thousands of dollars in tests, right? But at the same time, it's hard for them to pay their employees. They're complaining about players needing to get a pay cut. Like, what do you think about that scenario?
Say that again. The thing was cutting off.
So how can clubs actually afford, right, to buy thousands of dollars in tests, but at the same time they're having trouble paying their employees?
As in, like the players, or just The employees of the club.
Players, employees in the club, they're asking players to take a pay cut because they can't afford their salary.
Well, because it's come down to the thing where it's like football has to come back. You know what I mean? Safety for everybody's the number one priority, but at the end of the day, everybody got to go back to work, which is playing football. You know, so I think whichever way it's going, they're making that a priority. That's why they're figuring out the ways to get that money. You know, because like people got to go back and coming back to Germany. It seemed like we're all in agreement because they're one of the people that everybody can say they took a stall from the beginning. You know what I mean? They were on top of it. So if anybody that was going to start it, it's them because they've been on top of it. Minus football, just in general. You know, the way how they approach it from the beginning, they've been on top of it. Also, they do have lower cases. So like Nahom saying, we cannot start comparing Germany to England. We can't say, oh, why is Germany doing it and England's not doing it, or Italy? Because their cases are really, you know, in comparison to those countries, they're a little low. But also, the rest of the world is looking at them like, okay, let's see how it goes, and maybe we can piggyback off of that, you know? So it's like we're all kind of just looking out, hoping it goes well, and to see how things go from them.
Okay, I got it. Let me touch on it real quick. So, like the majority of the country, I'm assuming, just like here in the United States, those guys are staying at home, right? The majority of the citizens. So we don't need tests. We're supposed to be self-isolating. Okay, so we're giving tests to the people who need them, which are, you know, the first responders, the people on the frontline workers. Okay, those guys have as far as I know, they're getting tests. Okay, so if the footballers are being asked to leave the house, why can't they get tests? I don't see why it's an issue that we're testing a footballer twice a week. Obviously, there's enough tests. Okay, we've had suicide rate has skyrocketed. The suicide rate, the depression rate, the anxiety rate has skyrocketed. Okay, the people need this type of entertainment. Okay, I personally need football. All right, so I don't have a problem if you have to test those guys 5 days a week. Test them 5 days. They can have those guys can have my test. They can have Bazi's test too because Bazi's in the house. They can have M's test too because M is in the house. So right there's 3 tests that we can give to the footballers. But don't give it to the MLS footballers because I don't rate those guys. Go ahead, I mute myself.
Yeah, but Ryan, you're making the assumption that everyone is in the house. You have seen a million examples of guys not being in the house, right? 1,000,001 examples of people who said they're supposed to be in the house, but they're not in the house. They're outside.
But they're telling you to stay in the house, bro. They're telling M has a choice to go outside and ride his bike with Tomb Raider, or stay in the house and do podcasts with me. If he decides to go outside with Tomb Raider and ride his bike and he gets a virus, then that's his issue. But we're asking.
So that means he's not supposed to get a test.
Right, but what I'm saying is there's something in place for us to not require tests, which is stay home, stay in your home. We're asking these guys to come out of their homes for our entertainment. They can have my test.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really think it's as much as a test problem as it is a logistical problem, and that's what's kind of like slowing down the progress in England. Because I've read articles where they said that a lot, and this might take us to the next segment of the podcast, but where they have said they don't believe that half of the clubs aren't fans of the neutral stadium system. Germany is not doing the neutral. So you have that, and then you have one of the reasons they want to do a neutral venue system is because they don't have enough police power to control the surroundings of every stadium. They also don't want to pick stadiums that are close to people's homes because London is the UK is very small, and certain clubs are very small and near homes. And so there are logistical problems within that they can't seem to agree with. So I think, to Ryan's point, because I even argued this before where I said tests aren't available to the masses, but they're available to football. They're just not going to come off as fair, right? But I don't even think they have gotten to that. They don't even care about that problem because they have so many other problems that are happening on the back end. So I feel like, I mean, yes, it's an area of focus somewhat, but what England is having a problem with is the fact that it's more of a democracy of the clubs. Like, the bottom 8 of the clubs are saying, yo, X teams have played more home games than we have. It's all these logistical things that are causing problems versus the testings.
So, Bazzi, let me pull you in real quick. So, a lot of you guys don't know who this is, but Paul Barber and Chris Rosto. So those guys are the CEOs. One for Brighton. Paul Barber is the CEO for Brighton, and the Aston Villa CEO Christian Poso. Those are one of the two of the few teams or CEOs that are actually opposing the neutral grounds play. The bottom 6 teams, those teams are actually fighting for their right to survive. Bazzi, what are your thoughts on the opposition for the neutral grounds play in the Premier League? You're muted. Bazzi, all you have to do is unmute yourself. You can do it. There you go.
Okay. So back to what I'm saying. I think that's the only way that this thing could have could be possible going forward is it has to be a neutral ground. You know what I mean? Whether those small teams are going to say this or that, like all of that stuff, it's just going to make us go backwards. It's just going to take things, like all those conversations. If you're saying you want football to start again so we can move forward, those conversations are going to make us waste time. You know what I mean? Because we know that the scenario that we're given and the situation that we're in, we cannot have these little small scenarios. Just put everybody in neutral ground and play the games. It's not about if it's small, if it's in the Northeast, if it's here. We find the safest neutral ground for the games to happen, and we put it there. And if those guys don't obey, it's not even about the votes, The FA needs to just say, this is what's going to happen, and then that's where we're going to go from it. So I don't think that's Brighton and those guys, they're always going to have something to talk about because they don't want to get relegated. But they're going to get relegated regardless. So it's not even.
Well, okay. So
Those guys
let's
were
not talk
relegated
about
last year before they came in.
Arsenal is among the teams that's opposing the neutral ground. So just so even though you're talking down on Brighton and everybody else, so I just want you to understand that you have to see it from a point of view where the actual clubs are now losing from doing this neutral ground business. Like you guys are actually fighting to be on the top half of the table. Brighton is fighting to get out of relegation. Liverpool wants to have the opportunity to celebrate something that they haven't gotten in 30 years with their fans, right? So there are all these different nuances. It's just, I think it's one of those tough calls that I don't know if you're going to be able to make that.
And that's you said Liverpool. That's a main concern as well because Baz is on mute, so I'll talk anyways. Like the Scousers, you're not gonna get them to stay home when it's 2 games left, and they're like, if they get like 2 more, if they win 2 more games, they're champions. And to tell a Liverpool fan to stay home is gonna be impossible. So it makes sense to have a neutral on every aspect. It makes sense to have a neutral stadium. And Chelsea's also one of the teams. Chelsea's also one of the teams that objected to the neutral stadiums, I believe.
Okay. I said Bazzi. B, what are your thoughts on the whole neutral situation?
Okay. Well, you see, the smaller teams, like the bottom 6 teams, the main reason why they're against neutral ground is because they are going to lose that advantage of having, because most of the time, they say the smaller 6 teams, that means they're less talented. And if you look on paper, that playing against a bigger team, most of the time the talented team wins. But when you're playing at home even though you're less talented, the home crowd will give you that extra 10% to help you push you over the top, right? So,
That's a 12
so
man.
that is the main. Yes, that's the main reason why those guys are fighting it, right? Why those bottom teams are fighting it, because
But Bernard, not to cut you off,
going.
but before you
Give me a second.
continue,
Let me finish before. All right, go ahead.
all right. No. But
All right,
just
Figo,
the stadiums are. I'm gonna mute myself, but the stadiums are gonna be empty. So what 12th man are we talking about? Ryan's on mute.
outside.
Okay.
So
All right, wait. Yes.
outside stadium.
Not even outside, the comfort of your own home.
Thank you. Just the comfort of, even though there's no fans in the stadium, you're still playing at home. You're still playing you're still playing it. No, that is why those smaller teams don't want a neutral ground. They want to play in their own stadium, because even though they don't have, people are still going to be in the stands. They're just not going to be a full stadium.
Let me pose a question.
300. Okay.
Let me pose a question. So the guys who are, I don't know who's arguing what, right? But the guys say I'm in the bottom 4, right?
Yes.
I want the Premier League to start back up. Say I'm just outside the bottom 4. I want the Premier League to finish. You see what I'm saying? So I more
not
think
necessarily.
No, not necessarily.
If
the season is done, it's nothing counts.
There you go. The teams
No,
in the bottom,
that's not what the other leagues have been doing.
Wait.
The teams who have ended their seasons.
No, they're not going to do what France did. They'll do more like what the Dutch did, exempt the season.
Yeah,
so what I'm saying
there's
is
a lot of there's so much things going wrong in France that
completely
they're just using that because they made a decision so early in France, they're realizing that they cannot do that. Like, for example,
right,
let me give you an example. Wait, let me give you the example.
All right, go ahead.
France they awarded the Golden Boot winner to Mbappe. But guess what happened? Mbappe was tied to a player from, I don't remember his name, from Monaco. And Mbappe got it, but the other kid didn't get it. In England, last year, we had 3 Golden Boot winners. 3. You understand? So they're looking at some of these mistakes, what they're making. Okay.
What I'm saying is, as long as for a team,
his name is Wassine Ben Yedder. Sorry.
Nahum, when you get a chance, Nahum, I know you have access right now to your laptop.
His internet is popping right now.
When you get a chance, I want you to Google the team that's right outside the bottom 4. So how many teams get relegated? 3 or 4? Right outside the bottom 3. Sorry. So the 4th to the bottom. I want you to Google that team for me if you can. All right. And what I'm saying
I'm doing it right now.
Is regardless of if they say everybody stays in the league or we're going to do a relegation, right? That team is good. So what I'm trying to tell you is people are going to argue what benefits them at this point. Okay, so I can't get relegated if I'm not in the bottom 3. If I have no chance of finishing in the top 6, why would I want the league to start back up if I could potentially be relegated? Do you see what I'm getting at?
You're muted now.
I think I echo your point, but I see, and I hear a echo. Okay, no. So let me tell you what the bottom 6 clubs are doing. They're essentially trying to mix up as much of the meeting as possible, so that nothing happens, nobody gets relegated, and it gets exempt. Do you guys hear that?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So
that's
people
what they're
are going to argue in what benefits them. You see what I'm saying? That's what the arguments are going towards. Liverpool probably
100%
start back up so they can hurry up.
They don't care about that field advantage. None of that. I understand it, but logically,
so a decision just needs to be made. Everybody's going to argue what benefits their club.
Yeah, but I also think bottom 6, top 6, whoever. I think all the teams want the game to be played.
Yeah, that's true.
If they don't finish, season, they are looking at losing. The league is looking at losing $1 billion. That's the amount of money that's going to be lost without them finishing the season. with them finishing the season behind closed doors, 200 million that they're going to lose. No, so everyone want to finish the season on their term. They want to put on the money, but they don't want to. But they don't want to do it where they're not going to be at the most advantage as possible. Does that make sense?
Now I'm mute. Now you're muted.
I think what you're saying is more of a theory.
There's TV rights as well. So each stadium has sponsors. So if you don't have home games, what do you do with the upfront money that you got from the rights of the stadium? Not TV rights, but advertisement rights within their stadium. So if the games are still going to be shown. So if it's not playing at Stamford Bridge, different partners of Chelsea won't get the advertisement that they were promised. So you lose out on some of that money too. So I think the big clubs, that's what their battle is the fact that their ads won't be on display. But maybe some clubs will have that advantage because their pitch got selected for a neutral ground. So they're saying it's not fair. So however you spin this, somebody's not going to be happy. So you need to, and I guarantee they didn't have as much of these conversations. Well, maybe they did in Germany because Germany, they're not doing neutral field. So we know it's doable. So it just comes down to policing. Can you police it, and can you have enough testing centers within each stadium?
And the thing with the neutral ground is, even because what's going to happen is six grounds that they select across the. They select 6 grounds in different parts of the country. But even though it's neutral ground, no team is going to be playing on their home field. So they select if Arsenal is more on the neutral ground, when Arsenal have a home game, they're not going to play the game at the Emirates. They're going to play the game at another stadium that's in London. I think it's the Olympic Stadium. You understand what I'm saying? So no one is going to really be at an advantage, even though your stadium is picked as a neutral ground to play the game. They just want to do it at neutral ground so they could somewhat minimize the effect of the fans. They don't want the fans to come and meet up outside of the stadium. It's just, and again, all these things is going to come down to a vote. I think they need like 14 teams to agree for them to come with it. So just and then you vote, and whatever you vote, that's what's going to.
So Bazzi, do you think that saying that the fans are not responsible enough, like Ryan is saying that the fans are not responsible enough to stay home, do you think that's something that is worth us bickering over this neutral ground? Because basically it seems like that's what it all boils down to. Because if there's a stadium that's being played in and it's an empty stadium and you can play at home, quote unquote, it really boils down to the fans coming out, showing support. Even though they're outside of the stadium, you can still hear that they're supporting their team. Do you think that's the only reason why they're arguing about this neutral ground? You're muted, by the way. I gotta tell you. You're still muted, Bazzi. Yep, still muted. Still, there you go. Now you can talk.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think you guys are understanding how this thing is working.
Teach us the way, Bazzi. Show us the way.
No, I mean, like, they're going to be the security. How the security is going to be at these stadiums. Like, everybody's mindset is feeling kind of different. Like, oh, maybe people are going to be out. We're going to need that kind of support, even if they can't come to the stadium. Nobody's going to be nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, if everybody looked at, like, the German proposal, they had a proposal of how, like, their game days are going to go. And it's crazy. It's crazy ridiculous. That's why I wanted everybody to watch the little live I had.
But Bazzi, okay, if the Redskins open their stadium now and say they're gonna have a little scrimmage, I don't even know what it's called, a preseason game, you're telling me that all of these Redskins fans that they know their season is not gonna go to anything, but those guys are still gonna take their asses, go out and watch a preseason game. You're telling me that we don't understand how it works?
And they're already out. People are still
So
roaming the streets.
so I don't understand what Bazzi is saying by we don't under. Bazzi's not muted.
No,
Stop touching.
what I'm telling you is the proposal that Germany has for the way that they're going to approach these things. Okay, there's nothing that shows anything about these fans coming anywhere close to the perimeter. Those guys are enforcing like really, 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 really strict rules. So where it's not about that, you know what I mean? That's why.
Can you be more specific, Bazzi?
Yeah, let me be more specific. Okay, for instance, that's
Like
why I said.
tell me a rule.
Yeah,
Like tell me what you're talking about.
Okay, so the first proposal, okay, when the buses are coming with the players in, the proposal that they had was 350 people at the games, okay? And that includes security, that includes the personnels, all the whoever, all together, two teams, everybody that's supposed to be at the stadium, 350 in total. Nothing else in that perimeter of the stadium within like 2 miles. Something crazy. You know what I mean? That's why I said the way how they're approaching it and the way how people's mindset is of it is not the same. So that's why I'm like this whole neutral ground thing, how people are thinking. Trust me, wait till this weekend and you see how it works the first day of Saturday. Then you're going to see how people are going to take it moving forward. Because it's not like we're thinking, man. You know what I mean? It's really not like
So why
thinking.
is there so much? So why is that an issue in England?
Why? Because that's what's going on now, home, especially with these little clubs. They're trying to look at every situation that's going to help them. They feel like if we're at our stadium, somehow it's still going to help us. It's not about the fans. It's about how they think. They're trying to figure out every way to their advantage. Because even though COVID is the biggest thing right now, those fans are still looking at ways how to not take 10 to Manchester City. You know what I mean? So they got to look at every advantage that they can have. That's what I'm trying to say. But they're not messing with people anywhere close.
I think in England, I think the fans is definitely somewhat of a concern. From what I've read, in terms of Germany, the one thing Germans are good for is being efficient. They're very efficient. So if anybody's gonna get it done, it's the Germans. I don't think people in the UK or the people, the head of the FAs or the EPL or whatever they are, I don't think they're as confident. So I think you're right, Bazzi. I think that's not the biggest factor of the neutral fields, but I think it's a pretty good fact. It holds enough weight for them to consider policing and security and stuff like that. So I think it does matter if they're taking these precautions, right?
Well, one thing that nobody has mentioned, I don't know why you guys have not mentioned, but the actual players, we should probably consider them as well. So in the Premier League, there are players that were told to basically consider their financial futures. You have Kun Aguero, you have Danny Rose. They're actually voicing their opposition to Project Restart. Figo, what are your thoughts on the players actually standing up and not wanting to be a part of this madness?
So you're asking me what my thoughts on players voicing their thoughts in basically saying they don't want the league to continue to start.
Right. They're opposed to the Project Restart.
Yeah. So what I would say to those players is, if you don't believe in Project Restart, then don't show up to training camp. Don't show up to the games. If I don't want to go to work, my boss has asked me. I'm told I have to come to work every day, but I have the choice to quit my job. I have the choice to not show up. I also have the choice to work from home 2 out of my 5 days a week. I have the choice to work from home 2 days, or I can go to work all 5 days. So
what is the backlash? Okay, if you were told to go to work because, okay, let's say you are told to go to work. You go to work and then you catch Rona, right? What's going to happen then? Do you think there's going to be a backlash? Do you think you're going to actually be coming after the company that says that you should go to work? Let me tell you. So Tomb Raider cannot travel right now because if she goes somewhere and catches corona because her company sends her somewhere, then it's possible that she can actually turn around and sue the company, right? So
Right.
that's one of the things that you're not considering.
Right. And her company made that decision. But the Premier League, as a company, if you're viewing them as a company or a business, they have made the decision that if one of our players catches it, then we are willing to deal with the repercussions. For them, it's worth it. For Tomb Raider's company, it's not worth it. So, what I would say to Kuna Guerrero and Danny Rose, if you don't want to play football, you guys have made a lot of money over the years. You have the means to not show up. And then if they fire you, then Kuna Guerrero, believe it or not, and Danny Rose, believe it or not, they are eligible for unemployment. They can file for unemployment. I'm not sure if either one of them need it, but they can file for it. So I would say any player that doesn't want to show up, don't show up. You have the right. Like I will support you. Okay, but the guys that want to show up, show up. I'm dealing with that at my job right now. I have coworkers. I have coworkers that are showing up, and I have coworkers that are not showing up. Okay, so more power to the ones that aren't, and more power to the ones that are. Okay, but we all have decisions to make in life. So I respect Corner Guerrero. I respect Danny Rose. But at the end of the day, what do you say to guys like Kyle Walker, right? Who have call girls coming to his house. He's out and about on the streets. You know what I'm saying? So each footballer is going to be different. Okay, go ahead.
You're on mute, Em.
Oh, now you agree with that?
Well, this is the thing. I think Ryan threw a lot out there, right? He agreed, he disagreed. Kyle Walker did it, so why would Ryan feel a
It's
certain
typical
way?
Ryan.
No, but so I agree with some parts. I think everybody's entitled to their own opinion. From what I've heard, there's a list of like 50 players that are kind of forming a union to say they're not going to play unless
That's fine.
because the information is not shared with them. They're very much in the dark about what's going on, so they don't feel safe not knowing the precautions that are there. And as a human, we have to understand these guys. If you cut them, there's gonna be blood, my friend. They're just like us. So if they're scared, 100%, like like show them what precautions you're gonna take to make sure they're safe. Are they gonna be in touch with their family? What like these? If I don't know these things, how can I 100% say as a player I'm down? You get what I'm saying? So maybe a few players have come out and said they have questions, they don't feel safe. But I'm pretty sure there's a lot more of like Raheem Sterling had an interview from the Jamaican barber out of London, HD Cuts or something like that is his name. And he was just like, I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't play, but I'm scared. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared. So I think the players are more scared because they don't know.
Yeah, but
You
on
know
the
what I'm
flip
saying?
side of that, you have players
Yeah, but that
throwing
doesn't
parties.
make it. That's
You
Kyle
have
Walker,
players
right?
throwing. You have players. It's not just Kyle Walker. You have Jose Mourinho hosting practices, and guys are
Right,
showing
but
up.
that doesn't make it wrong that this guy feels this way because he's at
No, of
home.
course not. Of course not.
So
But
what are we
that guy is
arguing
his
here?
own. That guy is his own
Kyle
man.
Walker,
What I'm
but if Kyle Walker comes out and says I don't feel safe, then that argument holds weight. But we're not talking about Kyle Walker right now.
But what
We're
I'm
talking
saying
about guys
is,
that have come out.
the football the clubs have first teams and second teams. They will find enough guys. All you need is 11 guys
Fair
to play.
enough.
If
Fair
Kun
enough.
Aguero doesn't want to play, then he doesn't have to play.
But
It's
I'm
that
not
simple.
saying.
Don't play.
But you're making different arguments. What I'm saying
I'm
is,
not.
it's valid. What I'm saying is, it's valid for him to say, I have a Brian. If you tell me to go to work and my job doesn't tell me what safety precautions they're taking, as in hand sanitizers, I would be a little terrified. When I go and have escorts and stuff, I know the risk. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if you do that, like Kyle Walker comes out and say something, I'm like, cool. Like, you can't say that because you're out here wilding. If I'm going to visit my mom and my dad, that's a little bit. That's worth a little bit more than football. You know what I'm saying? But to say that, oh, Kyle Walker is having girls at his house, so why does Kuhn feel that way? I think it's a bit. It's just, I don't think it's fair.
Yeah,
And he's not
those might.
alone. And that's
Yeah, those might be two different things. Bazzi, so besides Kun Aguero, there's Rudiger, Manuel Lanzini, Raheem Sterling, Danny Rose is just just to name a few players. And I'm sure there's a lot more that are not as outspoken as these superstar type athletes. So Ryan,
M,
clubs
can
do
I
have
add,
that.
can I answer that question? Has any players come out in support of being back out there? I don't even know if that.
Yeah, I can't.
Based on their actions, I'd say yes. I saw Jose Mourinho at the beginning of this hosting a training session. So based on their actions, there are footballers out there who are still training. They're still training with other footballers.
Verbally, have they come out and said, like, because they're like, so being at home and being quarantined at home, does that mean you're going against being outside?
Bro, the way this whole pandemic has panned out is we're not going to hear the guy, the media is not going to report on the guy who says, yeah, I want to play. They're
Yes,
only going
they
to report
will.
on the
100%. If you're one of one,
They're only
you
going to
can find
report on the
one.
negative. That's all we're
No,
hearing
tell
about
me.
is what's negative.
Tell me if you've seen one.
Even outside of football,
Have
we
you
hear
seen
about
one?
deaths. We don't
Name
hear
one
about
player.
survivors. We
Name
don't
one
hear
player.
about survivors.
One
We hear
player,
about
one
deaths.
player, Figo.
One player. You see that, M? The guy said
Okay,
physically running outside.
I'll name two players. The two players that were in a training session with Jose Mourinho. Those guys are ready to play football. Those guys are ready to play football.
Bazzi,
Those
you
guys are
agree
ready to play
with
football.
Bazzi? Are you on Ryan's side? Unmute yourself, Bazzi. Bazzi, you have to unmute yourself. Jesus. B.
Yeah.
On
Okay,
your
Bazzi.
own, man.
Go ahead, Bazzi. What you say?
I said, Ryan, you're on your own on this one, bro. Those two guys that you keep mentioning, I want to ask you a question. Who were those two guys that Jose was training?
Wasn't it Danny Rose? Wasn't Danny Rose in that mix?
No, it was
It was Dombele, the guy that he took off that said he couldn't
Dombele
play the game. and Serge Aurier,
and
the two guys that can't
Serge
pass the
Aurier.
ball the
Yeah,
right
but
way.
yeah, but Bazzi, that's not what Ryan is saying. It doesn't matter which two players they are. Just the fact that there are two players that they don't have to come out in terms of their name now or come out and say it in the media. That's one. They're coming out in terms of their action. I think Ryan is correct here. Like for example, today they had the kids from Manchester United, one Basaka and the other African player.
B.
Um,
They were
Sorry, I'm gonna cut you. I'm sorry, B. I'm gonna cut you. Those guys are all doing it for the gram. Don't get it twisted, dog. Everybody's doing it for the gram. All those guys are doing it for the gram. No, don't take that as actions to want to go back.
You're giving me the bro.
No, they're doing it because the club sets that as their daily exercise.
Yeah, but my point is, you were telling me the reason why they're doing it is irrelevant. Is the fact that they're doing it. Okay, they could do it for Jesus Christ. I don't care.
That's the point.
Once they're doing it, they're doing it. That's the point. The point is that they're doing it. No, what Ryan is saying is that because he's not wrong. It's sad, but it's a business, and they're working for a company. The company has laid out precautions that say, okay, these are the things that we're going to do for people to come back to work. My friend,
what are those, B?
Wednesday,
What are those?
Wait, what are those? They're going to test the players twice a week.
We don't know that. There's nothing. That's a lie.
We don't know that.
they said that.
ESPN
go look it up.
today.
And I think
ESPN today said they have nothing written about what they're gonna do.
What's wrong with this kid now?
From who? Send it to me, B.
Now home in Germany, they 1,700 players over 2 leagues, right? And I think like a few of them got test positive. In England, the project restart, they're going to test all the players first, right? It's just like what they're going to do is like like here in America where the nurses, where they're like, okay, you have an option of you can go buy a hotel.
There's no. You're telling me what we're doing in America to compare it to what they're going to do there. There's nothing. The players have gotten no information about what's going to happen. That's what they're saying. They're like, we're in the dark. There's nothing. I searched and searched for anything with England. I haven't seen anything. It's not a think about it, B. It's got to be concrete.
Wait. I'm just asking you. Just tell me by using common sense. Just listen to me for once.
Right.
Just listen to me, please. You're telling me you really think that they are start the league without communicating with the players?
We don't now use your common sense, right? Have you heard a start date? Have you heard any agreement? So these things are still in the preliminary. So how can they go to the players?
Let me answer that. Let me answer that.
The
Okay.
irony of this debate.
Yes.
The irony of this debate is Nahom, every time one of these clubs says, for example, most recently, you posted in our group chat, three Brighton players tested positive for the virus. So in terms of testing players, that's in place already. Like, what else can be in place? Players have to be tested before they play football. What else can be in place, brother?
Ryan, you gotta have concrete plans of what you're playing against other teams. It's not about how you are at home and what you test negative or positive. It's when I'm on the pitch. Are there gonna be 5 subs? Am I gonna be taking a corner and be surrounded by players? There's a lot of things. So it's perfectly natural for a player to say, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable."
Right,
but Nahom, what I'm trying to tell you
that's
is
the basic.
Yeah, but
Nahom,
what I'm trying to Nahom, I get all your concerns. But what I'm trying to tell you, if they have something called a project restart, you're telling me, wait, and again,
I'm listening, B.
Not because
you just throwing names
me and
out
you
there.
don't see it. No, wait, not because me and you don't see it. That doesn't mean it's not. That doesn't mean it's not there. You understand what I'm saying? But what I'm telling you is. It's common knowledge. If they're having a project restart, they have to have some form of precautions and steps on
B.
Like for one of the steps that they have in England right now, that's going to get implemented tomorrow. You are now allowed to go outside with someone outside of your family. You can now socialize with someone outside of your family starting tomorrow. So I remember football is not going to start this weekend in England. Football is going to start in like 3-4 weeks. So the longer we wait, is the better the situation going to. And again, I think as what Ryan said, that the media is not going to showcase people. That's not what's going to sell the papers. The media is going to showcase everyone saying no, but they need to showcase people saying yes because their actions show that they want to go play back football.
Yo, B, so this is my thing, right? Have you ever given a presentation? Hold on. Have you ever given a presentation before? Before you have concrete ideas and plans and funding and everything else, and you've had that meeting, do you present that data to the person to the person, the interest, essentially, the players? Because you're saying project restart. That thing is getting updated more than anything I've ever seen. They've had like 4 or 5 meetings, one of which was today. So you think within that stages, they already told the players what the safety precautions are going to be leading up to the
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
I don't think so. I don't think you present something when it's completely the opposite later. I think you have to have something concrete. You can say, "Hey, I'm going to test. We're going to do this," but it's not. There's a reason why they're saying these players. There's a reason why they're saying, I don't feel comfortable. They're not just saying it just to say it. There's a level of darkness in regards to what's happening, right? And if you're one of one, one last point. If you're one of one, 100% they will cover it. Not one player, not one. You're giving me physical running as a way.
But you said earlier, no player. You said earlier, 100% Liverpool players want to go back to football. You said that earlier.
I never said that, Ryan. I never.
Bazzi, hold on. So Bazzi,
I haven't mentioned Liverpool once this whole podcast.
But hello, you sound a little quiet around there. I hope you're not on mute. But there've been a couple procedures or a couple of steps that they want to enforce to bring stuff back. They want to have the stadiums clean them once, like a daily cleaning. They've been testing players. Brighton got tested with they have positive tests over at Brighton. Players are saying that they need to get tested by Friday and be cleaning training grounds. Zoom meetings, players are being told to turn their faces away when they're being tackled. Is this the kind of football that I know we want to watch football, but is this the kind of football we want to watch, Bazzi?
Well, we have no choice. Then. We have no choice. So precaution. That's what we got to do. They say, prevention is better than cure. So that's what we all got to do. We got to take the necessary steps. That's why I said tomorrow I'm going to post the proposal that Germany is going to go through. It's extremely annoying. Like if you read it, it is so annoying. All the doors are going to be open. Every single showers for every player. You know how long those guys are going to be in the stadium before they leave? Everybody got to take a single shower. So it's like all these little things, but it's. Let's see how the first weekend goes. You know what I mean? Because I read it and I was exhausted. Like that's you know what I mean? Just to play. So
Yo, go ahead, Bazzi.
I thought you were finished. Sorry,
so
buddy.
again, like I feel like we're all, especially in my home, we're all on the same page. Where it's like the first thing is we care about people's safety. We're all on the same page. We all want to see football. We can all agree that we all want to see football. We can all agree that we all care about people's safety first. You know what I mean? Just like that, we don't want the same things. It's the way how it's going about. You know what I mean? Because you got to look about what's more important. Because some countries, some things are more important than others. And that's what it comes down to. The people in Germany, I feel like they're going to obey the rules more than they're a little different. You know what I mean? So that's why it's a thing where it's like we just got to be hopeful, and we cannot say anything until we see this weekend how it goes, and then maybe we can start going little by little from there. In England, realistically, I honestly don't see anything. Just like last podcast we had, it was like maybe a month and a half ago, and I mean.
Okay, Bazzi is from.
Go really slow. It's gonna go really slow. Echo.
Okay, slowly but surely. Wait, where did Figo go? All right, so Figo, I got a question for you. Um, is this whole coronavirus thing? Is it exposing how spoiled top flight players are? Because there's been a lot of
100%.
complaints.
100%.
Brian, we can't see you.
100%.
We can't see you.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm sorry.
We can see like half of your face.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can
there
you see
you
me
go.
now? All right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you
it
good.
100% exposes how spoiled footballers are. For example, I don't want to. If Kun Aguero and Danny Rose doesn't want football to start back up, they shouldn't be ordering nothing from Amazon because the Amazon warehouse workers are still working. They shouldn't be ordering no groceries from Instacart because those guys are still working, and those guys are putting their lives at risk for you to get your new wireless headphones, your new shirt, your new shorts, whatever it is you're ordering. So don't order nothing from Amazon. Don't order nothing from Instacart. Okay. It is not a surprise to me that the most lucrative league.
Hold on. That's a lie.
No.
Because Dr. Fauci said it doesn't stay on certain surfaces for a long enough time versus human to human contact. But
So Dr.
That is true.
Fauci is God now. Dr. Fauci is
Fauci.
God now. Okay, so anyhow,
Yeah, now but the point he's making is that the fact
those guys
that
have to go to
are going
work
back to work.
and be around each other
B,
in order to
beg.
send you
B,
your Amazon
I beg.
package.
Don't promote this stuff.
No. Listen. So if the Amazon workers have to go to work in order to mail you your new bike or your new headphones or your new Liverpool jacket, okay, then why can't the footballers go back and play football? Okay, those guys are spoiled. Okay, we're seeing it with Kyle Walker. All right, if Kun Aguero doesn't want to play football, don't play football. And it's not a surprise that the most lucrative league, okay, in the world, which is the Premier League, we all know that's the richest league. That's where the most money is. That's where the most whining is coming from. Germany is starting back up this week. Why? Where are the German players whining? Okay, where are the players who are playing in the Bundesliga whining? We keep focusing on Premier League, but we have a league starting back up this week. Nobody's whining. I just watched two UFC fighters fight, cut each other open, blood everywhere. Nobody's whining. But the Premier League players, where all the money is, all those guys are crying like little babies. Okay?
Bazzi, the what's it? One name that Ryan seems to be circling back around Kyle Walker. He's been breaching the COVID-19 lockdown every other week. Do you agree with Ryan's statement of players all being spoiled?
Yes, I do.
You
You
care to
guys
elaborate?
hear me? Am I still muted?
Keep going,
Yes,
buddy.
you're right on this one. Kyle Walker sounds like a broken record. I'm tired of the guy. Every week he does something. The next week he come apologize. Then the next week he does it again. First of all, it's you're somebody that's in the public eye. People look up to you. And again, this comes down to safety. If they're telling you to stay home and you're doing all sorts of foolishness, like they give you a chance one time and you're doing it again, I mean, those guys are spoiled, man. They really are. And I agree with Ryan 100%. They need
Now,
to.
now,
They
home,
need to protect.
you've been shaking your head a lot now. What's going on?
I think they were spoiled before COVID. I don't know if COVID has anything to do with
Yes.
them being spoiled. So it's. I can never blame another person for being fearful of their life. Simple and plain. Clearly, they're not like if somebody tells me, home, this roller coaster has had 1,000 people in it and not one person has died. I might go on a roller coaster. But when you don't tell me nothing about it, I'm gonna be like, a little hesitancy. Like, brief me on this before we go on this mission.
But now,
You know what I'm
home,
saying?
how
So,
contradicting
from
is
a
Kyle Walker?
sport
You
perspective,
know what I mean?
absolutely. They're making a lot of money, but again, I don't think England has been as transparent as the other leagues have been. Because we don't
Bazi,
like,
what you say?
there's journalists that have no idea what the plans are. Like top journalists that have no idea what English plans are. Spain is super transparent. Germany has been super transparent. France was super transparent and just cutting that thing, not playing around. So I just think England has a communication and clearly an idea of what they want to do because they're still negotiating. So fair play
The
about
other
complaining.
thing that you got to look into consideration is the French league. Those guys are not going to fight you as much, because the teams that are going down, the money, they don't have the money, so it's not like they're going to fight you anyways. You know what I mean? And only Marseille, I think, were the only people that was complaining a little bit. But other than Marseille, nobody else really cared. But you
No, they
can't
did care
have
about it. They're suing. They're suing the French league.
who, which
Leon is
team?
soon in the French league.
No, there's
Leon.
the bottom teams too.
There's issue going on in France, and they'll get themselves
Those those
made
guys
the
they did the
decision a
guy
little bit too early.
the guy from Monaco. They said because what was it, penalty kicks? They said
Yeah,
Mbappe had
because
more open play goals, right?
behind penalty nonsense.
That's fucked up.
Well,
Next week
spoiled
penalty
or not,
is not going to get. It's nonsense.
I said
They told the
spoiled
guy
or
don't
not,
score PKs.
spoiled or not, we're gonna be watching football this weekend. So
Thank
that
God.
is a step, it's a step in the right direction. So this weekend we got Dortmund. Dortmund is going to be going up against Schalke. We got Bayern Munich. They're going to take on Berlin, and then there's going to be a whole bunch of other meaningless games that I will be watching. I can't believe I'm going to be cheering for Frankfurt versus Gladbach. So it's just, it's finally coming back to normal, guys. So with that said, that's come to an end. Thank you, B, for coming through.
Wait, you see what you just said a while ago? Wait, before you close off. You see what you just said? It's all
What
of
I,
those games that you listed,
yeah.
right? That you said you're going to watch those games is part of the reason why England is going to start back. Because no, the whole world is going to watch Germany, and they're going to have the eyes all on them. You think England
It's
and
all
the Premier League
conditional.
is going to allow that to happen?
If
B,
it
if
ends
it
bad,
goes well, yes.
yeah, if it goes well, it's one of those things that KG always says. If it goes
Yeah.
good, really good. But if it goes bad, it's gonna go really bad. So let's see what happens, guys. I guess tune in next week for another episode
Yo,
for another
yo,
episode of Soccer Family.
watch your Bundesliga because we're gonna be having discussions over like Gladbach versus
I know. I know.
Seiss.
It's gonna be a crazy matchup. All right, guys. Well, like I said, thank you, Nahom. Thank you, B. Thank you, Figo. And thank you, Bazi. Also want to give a
All
shout
right,
out to
fellas.
Aiden Foreste. He still got the friend status up on our podcast. So, um, if you have any thoughts, suggestions, feedbacks, or corrections, just leave that in the comment section below. Remember to like us and follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/soccerfamily. Instagram at dot. We have Twitter, we have the Soccer Fam. We have a YouTube channel, and we have a website coming soon. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope you again.
Yo,